Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video I should have made many months ago, but I couldn't because reasons. This is my top 10 games of 2017, where we take my 10 favourite games of the year and take a detailed look at them, so that you too can experience the glory of these titles. Although unfortunately I didn't have enough games to actually fill the list this time around, so I've included an extra game that I hadn't played in 2016 but did start playing in 2017 and I really liked it. And since that's not a game from 2017, it will obviously be relegated to the number 10 slot. So without further ado, let's begin with number 10. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. If you guys remember my 2015 list, then you will know that Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 was one of my favourite games of the year, and the sequel is even more amazing. While the first game had great combat, good story and a variety of content to choose from, it still pales in comparison to the sequel, which is absolutely chock full of content, characters, story and more. I have hundreds of hours on this game, and even then I haven't even touched any of the DLCs, which just shows how much sheer content there is to play in this game. Story mode, parallel quests, multiplayer, expert missions, teacher missions, the Hero Colosseum and more. This game will keep you playing for weeks on end and still remain a blast. The story of this game is arguably even better than the first, with a large variety of characters, twists and turns, and a good ending to wrap things up. Combat has also improved with a system that, if you ask me, feels better than the first one and has great depth to it, especially in multiplayer. The inclusion of so many playable characters also is a great thing, as it allows for a great amount of choice when picking a team or picking a character for multiplayer. I especially enjoy playing themed teams throughout the game, such as maybe a Super Saiyan 4 team, or a villains team, or movie villains team, or etc. All in all, Xenoverse 2 is even better than the first, and is easily my second favourite Dragon Ball game of all time. And I'm sure that most of you can guess which one is my favourite. Number 9. Peace Death. An extremely simplistic and fun little indie game, where you play as a simple reaper doing his job of sending people to heaven, hell and purgatory. This is done by checking each individual person for signs of evil, and when something is out of the ordinary, they are sent straight to hell, and if not, then off to heaven you go. But wait, there's a twist. Some will be willing to redeem themselves, and in this case, they must be sent to purgatory. In a way, this is like playing Papers, Please, but on speed dial, but it's that speed that really brings out the best in this game. It takes great perception to be able to catch every discrepancy and keep a good time in order to get the maximum amount of points, again like Papers, Please. There's not much else to really say about it due to the fact that it's so simplistic, but simplistic does not mean bad, and that is why I absolutely recommend this game for those who want a quick dose of indie fun. Number 8. Five Nights at Candy's Free. As you guys know, I have nearly completed this game on the channel, and as a result, I can safely say that this game is a great addition to the Five Nights at Candy's franchise. This game has a very eerie and quiet feel to it, which is definitely appropriate for a game like this, and trust me, this game does a great job of keeping you on your toes. Not only this, but the game delivers great backstory to the mysterious world and answers many questions that have been raised over the course of the games, such as who the heck are the rat and the cat? There may not be a great amount in terms of content, but what is there is definitely intriguing, creepy and even fun at times. And it's definitely a game worth playing for fans of Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. But I do have to say though, the goddamn Shadow Rat can get Right, that's it. You know what? Enough is enough. Number 7.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. There's a father up above, and he's looking down in love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see.
Outlast 2. The long-awaited sequel to the famous original. Does it live up to the hype? I think so. This game brings back the spirit of the original while also completely switching up the setting and story. The gameplay is reminiscent of the first while having some differences in places that make it pretty interesting, such as the flashback sequences that are especially creepy. The story of this game is, in my opinion, weaker than the first, but it is still an intriguing, disturbing and downright horrible experience that will certainly keep you wanting answers even by the end of the game. There's not a whole lot to say about it apart from that, so I'll just end by saying, if you like Outlast 1, then you could very well like Outlast 2 also. Number 6. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. I am a massive fan of the Crash Bandicoot series. I have been playing the game since I was about 3 years old, and I have loved every single second of it. And this game does a great job of bringing back those wonderful games back with modern day graphics. This is a remastering technically, so I can't really say much about story or gameplay, as those were pre-existing, but what I can say is that the Insane Trilogy is a welcome thing, as it allows a new generation of fans to enjoy this wonderful franchise. Now just keep on praying for a remastering of Crash Team Racing, literally the best racing game of all time. Number 5. Little Nightmares. Now this is an absolute masterpiece. When I first saw this game, I was immediately intrigued and keen to learn more, and sure enough, my prayers were answered when I found a great let's play of the game to watch. And no, I have not played the game or the DLC myself, but quite frankly, I don't feel I need to. The game has one of the most intriguing, interesting, strange and mysterious stories and worlds that I have ever seen in a game, and it has caused me many times to head to the wiki to read a few facts. It almost feels Five Nights at Freddy's-esque in just the sheer amount of mystery and intrigue throughout the game. From the long arm of the law, to the monster chefs, to the disgusting guests, to the mystery lady, and even to yourself. All of it is just shrouded in mystery and raises so many questions of why, and that is what I love the most about this game. Unfortunately, this is a story-driven game, so once you've seen the story, there isn't much reason to play it again, but still though, you never know what else could be hidden within the depths of the maw. Number 4. Realm Grinder. I know this game came out ages ago, but it only got a Steam release last year, so it still counts in my book. This is by far the best idle game I have ever played in my life, even beating classics like Adventure Capitalist and the legendary Cookie Clicker. And I have to chalk that up mostly to the pacing and balance of this game. The problem I have with most idle games is that after a while they get incredibly slow and it really kills the fun if you ask me. Some games struggle with this problem more than others, I'm looking at you Clicker Heroes, but either way it's a problem I found in almost every idle game I've played and it always turns me off, but Realm Grinder seemingly found a way to beat this problem. There are very few times throughout Realm Grinder that I actually ever felt the game was getting slow or repetitive, and I think I can mostly chalk this up to the fact that every time it starts to feel this way, the game completely does a 180 and introduces a new mechanic that completely resets the pacing and switches up the gameplay. For example, after around 10 reincarnations, you unlock the Mercenary faction. After around 16 reincarnations, you unlock Research. After a while, you unlock Research for different factions. Eventually, you reach Prestige, which completely changes things. This game keeps finding new ways to keep the pacing good and keep the gameplay from feeling repetitive, and that is why it is definitely my favourite idle game of all time. So if you guys are looking for an alternative to Cookie Clicker and Clicker Heroes, then this game is the perfect one for you, highly recommended. Number 3. Pizzeria Simulator, aka Five Nights at Freddy's 6. This is the true final installment of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and what a way to wrap things up. FNAF games have consistently taken the top 3 spots for the last 3 years now, and if you ask me, it's well deserved. This game starts off as a little fun arcade game, where you play as Freddy, but very quickly you're exposed to what was truly hiding within this game. Once we get into the main game, we are greeted by a wide variety of different games within this game, from the literal Pizzeria Simulator game, to the variety of games you can play within the pizzeria, to the Five Nights at Freddy's style main game, and even to the salvage missions. This game is just oozing story and gameplay out of every orifice, and that is a fantastic way to end the franchise. The game introduces new characters that link to old ones, answers to questions that have gone long unanswered, freshness to the gameplay and theme of the game, and all the while a fantastic amount of Easter eggs and main story that keep you constantly intrigued and invested. This is Scott Cawthon at some of his best if you ask me, and even better, it's free, so you can play this game and enjoy it free, which is fantastic. All in all, this is probably one of the greatest FNAF games ever made, and a fantastic way to end an absolutely iconic franchise to indie horror. Oh, and one more thing, Candy Cadet is best character 100%.
I am a Candy Cadet. Come get your candy here. I have candy all day, every day. Candy, candy, candy.
Number 2. Doki Doki Literature Club. This game is a wonderful, fun story where you can have a great time with 4 beautiful anime girls and enjoy the wonderful life of a Japanese schoolboy. What a wonderful experience. Every day I imagine a future where I can be with you. In my hand is a pen that will write a poem of me and you. The ink flows down into the dark puddle. Just move your hand right the way into his heart. But in this world of infinite choices, what will it take just to find that special day? What will it take just to find that special day? Before we cover my number 1, let's take a look at all the games we've covered so far. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, number 1. The Joy of Creation Story Mode. Yep, it's another Five Nights at Freddy's game. And not just that, it's a fan game. But still, that doesn't mean that this game doesn't deserve the number 1 spot. There have been hundreds and hundreds of FNAF fan games since the original was released, and while many of them are bad, many of them are also wonderful. Games like One Night at Flumpty's, Day Shift at Freddy's, Five Nights at Candy's, and my personal favourite of all time, Five Nights at Fuckboys. But the Joy of Creation Story Mode is a big contender for the number 1 spot. The story of the development behind this game is a pretty interesting one, so let's have a little bit of a history lesson, shall we? It all started when the original version of the game was created. At first it was a pretty normal Five Nights at Freddy's experience, but the developer decided to cancel this version and completely revamp it into something different, entitled The Joy of Creation Reborn. This game would go through many different iterations, adding new characters, gameplay mechanics and more, until it was finished and would go on to be the base of the story mode. While The Joy of Creation was absolutely terrifying and had decent gameplay, it was far from a finished game and lacked any kind of real story. And this is where The Joy of Creation Story Mode comes in. Development began on September 3rd, 2016, and to start with, it didn't go very well. The developer had great trouble finding the time to work on the game and had to cut many features including cutscenes just to keep the game alive. The game was almost cancelled a few times until eventually the first demo was released, which consisted of an early version of the living room. The demo was incredibly buggy and unstable, which didn't bode well for the completion of the game. A version of the demo featuring the bedroom was also released, featuring instructions of how to skip over the living room, which was necessary because it was pretty much impossible to beat due to being so incredibly broken. Thankfully, the developer's advisor suggested that he stop posting these demos, as they were not doing the game's reputation any good. The developer agreed, and from that point on, the developer went completely silent while working on the game until it was completed. Eventually, we started to get the first few teasers hinting that the game was nearing completion, and on July 17th, 2017, the final game was released to the public, known as the Joy of Creation Story Mode. So was the game worth all that difficulty in the development process? Absolutely. This is one of the strongest FNAF fan games I have ever seen. In some cases, it even beats the original games in terms of gameplay and story. This game is set in an alternate universe where you play as Scott Cawthon and his family as they confront strange and dangerous phantoms that look exactly like Scott's own creations. I don't wish to spoil the story, so I will just say this. The game has an amazing plot that will keep you super invested and intrigued right up until the end, and then some. If you ask me, no game in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise was able to invoke this much terror. At almost every moment in this game, there is always just such a sense of dread and paranoia that will constantly keep you on your toes. In regards to the gameplay, it is absolutely marvellous. Every single level has its own unique set of rules, controls and mechanics that makes every level feel completely different to one another. And not only this, but each level also manages to be equally terrifying in different ways, which is remarkable for an internet fan indie game that you can download for free. But if you ask me, this game deserves to be paid for, as it's just that good. With each level feeling utterly unique and very well balanced, it makes a very fun, nerve-wracking and diverse experience that simply has to be played. All in all, the Joy of Creation Story Mode has an extremely interesting and engaging plot, as well as very diverse and interesting gameplay and level variety, making it a must-play for any Five Nights at Freddy's fan, and hell, maybe even any horror fan, period. So that's it for my top 10 games of 2017 guys. I'm very pleased that I finally gotten around to finishing this video, that I've been meaning to make for months now but just wasn't able to due to various reasons, and I'm sure I've explained these in other videos to some extent. Either way, I hope you guys understand and I hope you guys forgive me for the long wait. But with this, it marks the return of top 10 list videos on the channel, and I have so many of them planned for the future and I cannot wait to get started. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!